Okay, so are you ready to dive into a case that's been bugging people for, like, forever?
Let's do it.
This one takes us to uh, St. Xavier, Pennsylvania,
Mm.
back in 1999.
Mm.
It was a college town, you know, those are real, right. Everyone thinks it's safe until something crazy happens.
Yeah.
And this is, it's the disappearance of Emma Granger.
Oh, yeah.
She was 21 years old, just a student, and she just vanished.
Wow.
So the source material we're using for this deep dive are excerpts from a recent Unsolved Mysteries episode that revisited the case 25 years later. Think we can find anything new just by, like, piecing together these clues they gave us?
Oh, it's always worth a try. Cold cases like this, they often hinge on the smallest details. You know, the ones that maybe were just missed at the time.
Right, yeah. Okay, so just picture this. February 11th, 1999.
Okay.
Emma just finished her final exams, and she's supposed to meet some friends at a diner later that night.
Right.
Sounds pretty normal, right?
Yeah.
Like a normal night.
Yeah, totally. But that can be deceptive. One of the first things investigators look for, you know, in a disappearance is a change in routine.
Yeah.
Anything that seems off or out of character.
Okay, so speaking of off-dick,
Yeah.
there were some weird things going on that day. Emma got a bunch of phone calls that seemed to really upset her,
Uh-oh.
but she just wouldn't tell her friends what they were about.
Huh.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Like, as an investigator, how important would something like that be?
Oh, those phone calls could be super important, actually.
Yeah.
Because a sudden change in her behavior, plus those secretive phone calls, it kind of suggests something was really bothering her.
Right.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a threat or a secret she was keeping or some sort of pressure.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so let's fast forward to around 9:30 that night.
Okay.
Emma leaves her dorm,
Mm-hmm.
and she's headed for that diner, which is only 2 blocks away.
Right.
It's basically just a short walk across campus.
Yeah.
You'd think somebody would see her, right?
You would think, yeah. It's those little distances, those places you think are safe, you know?
Right.
That can be the most confusing.
Yeah.
The gap in the timeline between her leaving the dorm and getting to that diner, that's what we need to figure out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So her friends are at the diner waiting, but Emma never shows up.
Oh, no.
By 1 a.m., they decide to call the police.
And that delay is unfortunately pretty common.
Yeah.
But those first few hours can be so important in a missing persons case. Every minute counts.
Absolutely. And then there's this other detail that Unsolved Mysteries kept mentioning. A shadowy figure was seen near the woods behind the campus right around the same time Emma disappeared. So it's like the classic man in a dark coat, right?
Right. Yeah. And while that's often like a fake clue in stories and real investigations, you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Was this person just in the wrong place at the wrong time, or were they watching Emma? Were they waiting for her?
So, like, in your experience, how do investigators usually approach a detail like that?
Well, they got to consider everything, right? Could this person be the answer to the whole case, or are they just a distraction sending investigators in the wrong direction? It's tricky.
Yeah, it is. So we have these strange phone calls of possible witness, and then a young woman who just vanishes.
Right.
It's like something you'd see in a movie.
Except it's real, and that's what makes Emma's case so interesting, but also so frustrating. There are so many questions without answers.
Right.
Did something happen to Emma on campus, or did someone she knew lure her off campus?
It's scary to think about. And it gets even creepier when Unsolved Mysteries said no one knows for sure if this figure had anything to do with Emma's disappearance, but the sighting raised questions.
And that's the thing with these cases. Even the tiniest details can be important. Something small, something that seemed totally irrelevant at the time, could be the key to figuring everything out.
That's true. So for all you listeners out there who are just as hooked on this case as we are, the question is still there.
Yeah.
What are we missing?
Yeah, what is it?
What tiny little detail could break this case wide open?
Who knows, but it's out there somewhere.
Exactly.